Only one.
All right. Not our best opening, but here we go.
What's the option of not sticking the dismount? Not sticking the mount?
All right. Well, we didn't stick that opening, but here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to another round. Tonight we are going to go deep into Doctor Strange 55. Doctor Strange 55. Our crew, as always, our barflies are Scott Kolins and Stephen B. Jones and me, Jeff Johnson. So, hey guys, good to see you.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, I'm going to ask for one more attempt.
Okay, go for it. Scott is ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Live streaming, not an exact science.
I mean, technically, it does heavily involve science.
Not on our end. Not on our side. So
did that other one come in?
About, one of our all-time favorite comics is actually one of the most widely known and talked about comics amongst comic book creators, I think, in all the industry. What do you guys think? That this is probably the secret handshake of all comic book artists?
It's a really good. I mean, sadly, of course, that's probably generational for one thing. But
true.
I mean, it was great when we had Dave. On our first episode when we had the Reverend Dave Johnson on, and we all talked about our first comic, and I think we all were a little jealous that Dave happened to have the good taste that the Micronauts was one of his first comics. Right. And so I think for all of us of a certain generation, it's all about Michael Golden. Like, I'm sure our friend and coworker, Dusty Abel, will be very sad that he's not on this particular episode.
He's a huge Michael Golden fan.
I think he thinks the sun rises and sets from Michael Golden's pencil. And who can make that argue? But I think I'm trying to think of, before we talk about, what was everyone's first exposure to Michael Golden? Was it Micronauts for you guys because of the timing?
Yeah, I think Micronauts for me. But I think the first time I really started to study him was this issue of Doctor Strange and his Avengers issue. Those were the first time where I really started to dive into or to try and figure out what he was doing and what made it so good. And even going over this issue again, getting ready for the show, it's amazing to me just how incredibly sophisticated the drawing is. Like just his cloth theory, his lighting, his compositions, everything is so far above everyone else that is kind of even hard to get your head around how good it is.
It is in a lot of ways. Doctor Strange wasn't, I don't think, my first. I want to say my first, except for maybe some covers he had done, was probably that Avengers Annual 10 that just, blew everyone's mind when you're looking at it. It's almost hard to even digest that thing in one reading or whatever. But yeah, Golden was a real earth shaker wherever he appeared.
Yeah. I just realized that before Micronauts, I just remembered that my first exposure to Michael Golden, I got to look up this particular issue. I've just found it online, but it's not. There is an issue of like Batman Family or something, and it's called I Now Pronounce You Batman and Wife. And it's Ra's al Ghul and is it Ubu and Talia all kidnap Batman, and they marry Talia and Batman on a ship. And I think Talia, because Ra's is the captain, he can legally do it, but it's an amazing, that was my first exposure to Michael Golden. And it was like, that's when I suddenly realized, like, wow, this guy has special magic powers, this art somehow looks better than all other art that I've seen out there. Bruce Wayne had kind of cool 70s shaggy hair, like drawn by Michael Golden at the time. We may have to do that issue, I realize.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of like what Jeff said too. I think there was Micronauts, there was this Batman family thing for me. And then the Micronauts covers made me start noticing all the covers that he would get. And then if I could afford it, I would buy, Rom or She-Hulk or the things that he was just doing the covers on. And then I'd be so frustrated that he hadn't done the interiors, but sometimes I still bought it anyway, just because the covers were so damn beautiful. If I could steal enough money from my mom's purse to get those.
That's a good use of larceny.
And then
I remember robbing piggy banks.
And then our extremely talented former comic book artist and director has just popped in the comics and stole right out of my brain the mention of Avengers Annual 10. And I think there's a lot of debate between the three of us. I think Jeff and Scott decided on Doctor Strange 55 without me, and I think had I been part of the discussion, I might have pushed really hard for Avengers 10, and I'm sure they would have been torn. It's a very difficult decision.
Well, one of the reasons actually that I like that we're doing Doctor Strange 55 and not Avengers Annual 10 is there's lots more discussion on Avengers Annual 10, and not necessarily that it's a better product or whatever goes on. It's just the same thing of the reason why it's an expensive book, and quite honestly, you could still find Doctor Strange 55 in the quarter bin, but Avengers Annual 10 is the first appearance of Rogue.
Yeah,
so it's super famous and costly and everything for that, and gets a lot of attention for that. Where Doctor Strange 55 is amazingly, for the most part, still under the radar. I went to a con just a few years back, and I met up with a bunch of my Kubert buddies.
There you go.
And I was astonished that these guys that I'd gone to school with, and they graduated and whatnot, that even at that point, at that con, I mentioned it offhand because Michael was there at the con. And I said, you could go get it signed by him. I'm sure you could find some around here. They hadn't seen it. They didn't remember it. They weren't aware of it. So I was just done going, really? After all this time, you guys still don't know about this thing? That's insane.
Yeah. Do you guys remember he did a Batman issue, the opposite number? His I can't remember the name. I can't remember the title of it.
With the bad guy. It was a Batman annual, right?
Yeah.
With a bad guy. The only thing that's rough about it is a lot of it is inked by Mike DiCarlo. I think they had to ink a lot of it, not as a little bit more quickly than we might have liked.
Right.
But still
another great one.
Incredible. Well, as I was rereading this comic today in prep of our thing, I suddenly realized I'm like, oh, there are quite a few shots that I directly stole out of this Doctor Strange annual when I was doing my very first batch of sample pages to try to get work at Marvel Comics. I think Commissioner Gordon and Doctor Strange could, if you they could kind of fill in for each other a little bit there if I changed the mustache.
Right. Yeah, I mean the special effects. Well, let's get into it because I think there's.
All right, wait. Before we get started,
okay.
I have a surprise.
Oh God. Okay.
So put the Doctor Strange up on the main screen.
Are you going to bend the spine back on this one, Scott?
Don't you?
If you want me to.
No, it's always great to see the fan response when you treat a comic so roughly.
All right, so. Everybody, we're going to get to Michael Golden and all that stuff in a second. But in the interim, because some people may not know this, I wanted to show them. Where's my camera? There it is.
Oh.
How about this?
That looks familiar.
Who would have done this?
I have one of those.
Wait a minute.
Hey! That's by a little Mr. Stephen Jones right there.
What the?
Look at this great artwork that he does in here. This is one of my favorite pieces.
Oh,
look at that!
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Scott Kolins, we're supposed to be talking about Doctor Strange 55.
I know. We will.
Promoting. Okay.
But look at all this cool stuff, right?
That is a great sketchbook, Steve.
Thank you. Still,
lots of cool stuff in here.
Contact me on Instagram if you want to buy one of the 100 I have left. I think.
See, there's just a limited number left. In fact, my other favorite was these guys here.
Oh, yeah, the Scooby-Doo stuff is great.
Isn't that cool?
You're
cool book.
You're
so
very sweet,
there's this book, right?
That's a good one.
And then also in limited supply.
Uh-oh.
Ooh
Oh,
la
God.
la.
Hey!
Yeah, I don't think there's any of those left.
What great stuff.
I
Yeah.
thought we were going to get how to draw fight scenes like a pro. This one's truly rare. Oh, wow. Those are just drink and draw drawings, a lot of them, right, Jeff? Just
They're
drawn
all
on
just drink and draw drawings.
These are all the cards, those
coasters.
coasters. Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is I recently found I was going through the garage as I was cleaning up a bunch of stuff and putting a bunch of stuff in storage. I found I have stacks and stacks of these still in a bag, basically.
You heard it here first, folks.
Stacks and
If
stacks.
you rush in, he might be able to find a couple more for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have all of those somewhere. Yeah, those are just the ones we would do at Drink and Draw. We'd sit around and we had, I think Dave or Dan made up these really great coasters that we would hand out at the bar and people would draw on them.
Cool.
Yeah, good times.
All right. So just so we don't forget, partially why we're here and everything else. Let's see if I can do this without trashing everything.
So look at that.
I can't get my.
That's
There it is. All right. So there's those.
Oh yeah, you've been doing a lot of great commissions lately.
There's these down here.
Damn. I should pull out. You did a galactic
These
for
two
me.
bad boys up here.
Oh yeah, look at that one. That's a great Captain Cold.
Trying to get some holiday stocking stuffers out of here.
Yeah, I
All
cannot find that. I now pronounce you Batman and Wife on Comixology. Sadly, you can do a search and people have uploaded it, but I'm sad. I want to give Comixology my money on it, and they don't have it.
Oh,
Jerks.
all right.
Okay, Doctor Strange, number 55.
There it is. Now we can get into the meat of it, folks.
All right. Very
Okay,
nice
great.
of you, Scott. Very nice. Of
Thank you, Scott.
Buy Scott Collins comics, everybody.
Well,
Thank
I mean, that's part of the thing. If these people, people that are popping in need to know exactly who is talking about this stuff. We know
Right.
this.
Yeah. So,
See?
oh yeah, you're right. I forgot to give our bona fides.
Wait,
Or
and
bona
Here's,
fides.
gentlemen.
Yeah, and before we need, there is a drink and draw aspect to this podcast, right? Props to Dave and Dan and Jeff. Thank you.
There you go.
All right, I'm drinking a Mexican Coke today for all the people that don't like alcohol.
Oh, the good sugars.
Sugar.
I have had several fans mention that they appreciate you, Stephen Jones, for doing that.
Yeah, keep them sober.
sweet sugar versus corn syrup.
Right. And I have mead.
Viva,
You have mead?
Viva forever, our neighbors to the south. Thank
Yep.
you guys for your Mexican Coke.
Ta-da-ta-da!
All of our stuff, by the way, in the description box. If anyone's curious about getting in contact with us about not only the stuff we're drinking, but the stuff that we are drawing. All right, let's go on to Doctor Strange 55.
Let's.
Let's
There's
do
the
it.
cover.
Oh, so good. Look at the little scratching effect of I mean, it'd be fun to have Dan. I mean, Dan has become the greatest illustrator of mankind, but it'd be great to talk to him just about the inking aspects of this issue.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that's really great. And the last time we did an issue like this, we did the X-Men issue. You can really see the difference in the newsprint inking from these little tighter, cleaner digital stuff.
Yeah.
scanned in. You can really. So Terry was at the top of his game on this issue.
Oh, yeah.
my
No,
God.
totally.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of the very talented Dan Fraga, we have also the ridiculously talented Ron Salas turning in this week, which is great. Like Ron, check out Ron Salas's work on Instagram. Man is amazing. And he's listening to us. Hey Ron, good to see you.
Hey, Ron.
Okay, Now again, we talked about this a little bit last week and stuff, but there's something amazing about this era. I just love the writing of this era of comics where all the exposition that we've gotten used to seeing in the first 10 minutes of a movie, comic book writers used to have to do in the first 2 or 3 pages back then. And it was
Absolutely.
usually just in a few captions or dialogue. And and there's some beautiful exposition on just explaining to us exactly who Stephen Strange. Everything we need to know about Stephen Strange is explained in these 6 or 7 captions.
Yeah, and Roger Stern does an amazing job. I just also want to point out one of the things that's great about Golden is how many Easter eggs and details he puts into every element of his drawing. Let alone the Doctor Strange and his hair and his and the incredible details on his house and the storm brewing in the back, the lightning striking. But like just in that weird little statue thing in the beginning there. So I looked up that spiral design is one of the oldest designs in symbology, and it goes back all the way to the Stone Age, and it sort of represents life, rebirth, reincarnation, change, the journey, all that stuff. So it's interesting that I wonder who asked for that detail. Is that?
I bet you that was Mike.
I'm sure that's Golden. No disrespect to Mr. Stern. Also, just looking at this, I am sure I stole that smoke at least 50 times.
Oh, yeah.
But what's so amazing, and Jeff, you kind of brought this up in your Shang-Chi podcast in the regular Drink and Draw, but I think something to really just be blown away about. We are so spoiled as artists now. We have so much more access to information, and the research that Michael Golden would have had to do to get whatever that sculpture is in the foreground, like we're just a Google search away from having all this information. I remember in the 90s, like I think when we all had a studio together, I was drawing an issue of Marvel Fanfare or something, and I had to draw this episode that all took place in an Andy Griffith style small town, and I needed Andy Griffith reference, and that was like 3 days of going to libraries and bookstores and comic book shops until I found one, Andy Griffith book that cost $30 that had a decent amount of photo reference, and that was the option. And now you could just be like, oh, you want Andy Griffith stuff? Or do you want to stream it and freeze frame it? Do you want this? Do you want that? So it's the amount of detail that Golden would have been doing for almost every page of his comics is insane.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if we go in talking about, Steve, you said like that first panel or first page is all about introducing Doctor Strange and his backstory, and then now we go right into Wong and we get his backstory, right? Like,
yep. And I love that smoke from the first page leads us right into it's behind Wong. It lets us know that they're in the same room before we see this next shot.
Yeah.
So, something that really struck me in rereading this issue today was Michael Golden is just a remarkable artist, right? Like how he draws is incredible. But the fact that he's also such a good storyteller too. It's like the combination of skill sets that one needs to be a good comic artist. And honestly, I don't know if we see it as much today, not to turn into one of those people. In my day, the artists were better, but but just the fact that
any era that Michael Golden exists in, it's going to blow the curve.
For sure, absolutely. But like you might have an incredible story teller that's not as good of an artist, or you might have an incredible artist that's not as good of a storyteller. And the fact that you have both with Michael Golden is pretty upsetting and inspiring.
Right. Yeah.
And you're right. I think that statistic is rare when they're good at both of those jobs. Usually they are stronger at one side or the other.
Right. All right. Matt Nick 1983 is skipping ahead. But I think like Glenn has colored the comic we talked about last time, which was X-Men 133. Right. I suspect Michael Golden might have had some color input into this issue as well, because there's a lot of these hot pinks that Golden likes.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise, and we're going to get to some pages later, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was a little bit more of a collaboration, but still there's some remarkable color choices in this comic. And it's amazing I'm looking at the Comixology digital sort of recaps. It's great to just see the original panels here.
Right. One of the things I like too, not just how the colors accentuate everything in the storytelling. This is some of the best lettering being done at the time too. Look how all the compositions of the lettering are incorporated into the panel design. So they were really working to make sure that all the flow and all the space was used artistically. And I think a lot of times, like that's just a team operating at the highest levels.
And that panel you have up, Jeff, I love that. That's such a first 5 minutes of a movie line of dialogue.
Right.
You know, isn't there some way I can reach him? I may be Steven's business manager, but I'm also his friend. Well, thank you, Sarah, for explaining your relationship to him.
Now we know.
Bit of dialogue.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're primarily focused on the brilliance of Michael Goldwyn, but like Roger Stern was also a genius.
No,
like,
incredible.
Absolutely.
And in the previous first half of that page, Jeff, just the silhouette shot of, of Doc Strange in that shot with Wong in the foreground and all the black, and it's the way Golden used black is evocative of how Riso would come to use it, Eduardo Riso, where Golden would never go quite as full black as Eduardo Riso does, but he definitely, especially in this comic, he uses black so powerfully,
Right. Well, I forget, one of the things I was reading about this book is that Doctor Strange has always been a book about magic and fantasy and adventure, but also it was kind of it's a horror book.
At times, absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely, was it Tom Sutton that had kind of a spooky style that worked on Doctor Strange for in the 70s? And I think before this issue, I picked up a couple, there's maybe there was like a crossover between Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange. I remember it kind of scaring the hell out of me.
I think Tom Sutton has some history, maybe even dating back to like EC stuff.
Okay, so that top shot of Doctor Strange, I definitely swiped in my first batch of comic book samples.
Well, I mean, apart from stealing the drawing, which I've done too, just the idea of how do I leave space for exposition as a storyteller. You know that these words are necessary. You know that you have to leave room. You have to leave visual real estate. How do you plan for that? Right. And I think this was one of the first books I read when I was learning how to draw comics that I'm like, oh, I sort of get, this is how you design your shot to allow for this, right? And to give this room. And then what's more, we get the recap of what's going on in his life.
Oh, for sure. And even just, the fact that Roger Stern has the meanwhile alone in his study, just the look, we're not taking anything for granted to make sure you're following us as we cut back or something. That drawing of Klee is just beautiful and fantastic, though I just now realized that her leg is missing behind the
No.
It disappears.
Right. Because she's an apparition.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. That's
and she has no shadow.
That is right. Oh yeah, you're right.
The Brazier has a shadow, but she doesn't. And I just wanted to point out, so one of the designs that are just sort of like he keeps putting in, and I don't know if he obviously he meant to do this, but like the interlacing circles on her legs and then on the door here.
Oh yeah. Well, and I wonder, the interlacing circle, everything in that Klee outfit is Ditko, and Ditko was amazing with patterns, particularly in Doctor Strange. I am positive I've also swiped just that shot of Doc Strange in the foreground because it's such a great reveal over the shoulder of the character looking behind him to see, wait, what's that behind me?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We should mention in here too that as wonderful and brilliant as this issue is, it's amazing to think that it also stands out for the fact that, this was during the time that Marshall Rogers was on the book or had just been on the book. Right. He might have just completed his time. And this is before then Paul Smith was on the book. So this book at this time with Doctor Strange about the preceding year and about the year afterward or so was a really good time for this book. And yet still this issue by Michael Golden, knocks it out of the park, even with all this great company and all this brilliant stuff that's going on with it. And in part and parcel with that, this issue is integral into the framing of what's going on with the book. It's like when we were talking about the 133 X-Men with the Burn stuff going on with the Hellfire Club and Dark Phoenix, all those things going on. This is just part of the tapestry of the book at this point. It's only the issue that the girlfriend's gone away.
Right.
you know, that his heart's broken on it, but that's built up from the previous year, 2 years worth, whatever. That they put that into the story and built it up and everything. So that when she did leave, there would be this one, you know, giant gaping hole in his heart kind of deal. This would have been a fill-in issue for anybody else.
Right.
Oh, you know what? And Buzz, he just, I don't even know if it's a totally bad tangent. He just spotted the Klee's leg is there, but it's been colored the same color as the brassiere. Like if you look at it, there is a hint of her calf and the pattern of it there. Oh, interesting. No, you know what?
Oh, I see something.
In the original comic, it is actually colored properly, but in the digital fix-up that I'm looking at, they made it blue. So
Interesting.
bad job, digital fix-up.
Well, I like it better that it disappears.
Yeah.
Now, how did they that effect on Klee? Wasn't there a special way they had to do that stuff back? Like you had to draw it on another.
It was an overlay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been an overlay, separate piece of paper.
Yeah. That's a valuable page right there. If you could find that with the overlay on it.
Oh yeah.
God, that smoke is fantastical.
Yeah.
Good. So good.
The curves of his little belt. I love Doc Strange's outfit.
Yeah, it's a really great one.
To Hades with all this, because we're not allowed to say hell.
But also just look like the lighting from the smoke and the fire and his just the way he draws cloth has so much weight and movement to it. Right, you can really feel the fabric it's made out of.
Yeah, the fabric too. I mean, Buzz mentioned earlier that with the Wong suit, you really felt like it was satin.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was jeans or leather or anything else going on. It felt with the way he had handled the wrinkles and the shading and everything. It felt like it looks like satin.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. That is a great observation, and that Strange's tunic does not look thin. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's made out of a thick cloth. You know.
And his gloves that go up to his arm are actually their fabric.
Yeah.
Like, they're not skin tight.
Yeah, there's little wrinkles on them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're cloth. Woo!
So great. Now, speaking of our Claremont and Byrne from last time, so when I first read this comic, I had read Marvel Team Up 68, I think, with the Man Thing, where these characters where Despair had first appeared. I still didn't see it coming, but I knew this Dakeem the Sorcerer and stuff. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Because Claremont and Byrne, inked by Bob Wyacek, it first introduced, I don't think Dakeem and another character that's going to end up in here, but I think Despair first appeared in Marvel Team Up 68. Sorry. I believe Despair first appeared in Marvel Team Up 68.
He did, I believe, appear somewhere else first. I think it was Chris Claremont, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
but it was
what I
neat
just said, Scott.
Yeah, but it's neat here that Doctor Strange does talk to him like, yes, I'm aware of you. We've met before.
What's interesting, Jeff, too, is you notice, this Dakeem at this point, which is just, he is casting a shadow on Doctor Strange, right? Like,
yeah. Or that could also
absolutely.
be that's him, or it could be the from the window.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. From the
it could, but storytelling wise, it feels like it's Dakeem or whatever. We know that there's, if not emotionally, there's a shadow over him, but that he's this influence already over him. And it's annoying, Doctor Strange. You can tell he's not happy that he's there.
Yeah,
right.
I think you're right, though. I think, Steve, that it is the shadow cast by Despair.
Right. Oh yeah. The rain, the rain droplets on the window.
I know.
Right.
Just gorgeous.
Can you imagine being the editor and getting these pages in?
That's some happy days there.
Right. Unbelievable. Yeah. So good. All right. And then
that texture is amazing.
Well, I mean, look at that. Look what Terry did back there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, like, what the holy hell?
Yeah.
He does a couple of those in there where you're just like, wow.
You got to get into
really
a very zen place to just shoot. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're pulling each one of those lines,
Well, I mean, one of the things I think is interesting about, like, even though there seems to be a lot of color in that, there's really not that many colors, right? So These guys
No.
only had that 4-color process, and so they had to make do. They had to pretend there were a lot of other colors and gray tones with the inking and with the line work.
I love that bright red. Well, I mean, yeah, the bright, it reads more pink, like hot carmine pink when, and reminiscent of, stuff that they borrowed from the Doctor Strange movie and Endgame. Just, people people grabbing and yanking astral forms out of people's body.
Right. Yeah, one of my favorite things in this entire book is the weird, like jumping over hurdle posture that Takeem has while he's jumping up into,
yeah, that he's just yanked him out.
It's just such great figure work that I would never have thought to pose the figure that way. I would have had much more of a, less believable, less realistic, less fluid, more graphic,
It's kind of a Jeff Johnson Boone Way of the Rat pose, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not one you would imagine for a sorcerer,
No, exactly.
But what I love that those two panels are such a great comics versus animation storyboarding thing, because if Jeff and I were having to storyboard this for animation, you would have had to have so many more things in between panel 4 and panel 5. And I just love in comics what gets split between the gutters. And of course, it's just that great effect that the white is, that there is no panel border there. That Doc Strange is breaking out of the panel border on the left, and then there's the emptiness of the white. But
it's such a great little touch because it does bleed into the next panel.
Yep, leads you right into the top of the word balloon and stuff. But the fact that we've just covered now all that space, but all right, well, we recognize Doctor Strange's house. Like, yeah, we don't need to cover the intervening, 500 yards between when Doc gets yanked out and he gets up there. But
right.
That's the fun thing about comic book storytelling and editing, that you can skip, quote unquote, kind of skip the boring parts.
Absolutely, like this next panel where they skip to the Himalayas.
Yeah, all across the world.
Right. That one of the things I think the succinctness of the storytelling is like that travel was not important. Being in the Himalayas was what needed to happen next. And look at that temple.
I know.
Ridiculous.
Oh, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if it's large enough to see. Like there's those little statues, not little, but those giant statues in that temple, and just his texture in the rocks.
Yeah.
And just how much.
And then the shot of, and the shattered statue by the Ancient One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. What an interesting detail. Like he's basically studying in the ruins of this temple, but it doesn't he doesn't care. He's the Ancient One. He's in another dimension. He has not earthly concerns.
Well, and that's also one of those things where storytelling wise, I don't know exactly who would have picked it or why they would have picked it, but it's constantly implying all of this death and decay around this Doctor Strange story, which is supposed to lead you into thinking to get you to that ultimate point in the story when he's supposed to have this breaking point that, there's no point to it all or any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of those neat little subtleties throughout all that stuff that it feels great. Yeah,
there's a ton of subtext in here.
And it's a totally different kind of brazier that the Ancient One has. It's a totally other unique design. And Jeff and I knowing there's, this Andy Chang or JoJo or someone there's a whole artist that we know that would be just designing these props in animation,
right.
Whose whole area of strength and interest would be those props or objects. Yeah, these scrolls and how well they're drawn and rendered. I love just the casual magic of it, just both the Ancient One and the scrolls floating.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they look thick, right? That's not paper. That's the skin of an ancient or a dead, a long extinct beast.
Right, and the metal looks brass, or
Right. All right.
Do you have the next one? Oh, look at Doctor Strange's shirt.
Yeah.
That killed me for years. I'm like, oh man, that's what his shirt really looks like underneath the cloak. Of course it looks like that.
Yeah. One of the things I think that's really hard to draw is, and I've done it a few times, like where you draw an astral form. how do you pick what to show, right? Like which details do you leave in? Like how much do you want to still give a texture even though it's not a texture, right? You still want to show the folds, but it's not quite gravity working on it the same way it would if it was
interesting too, there's
or light working on it.
Yeah.
There's no blacks in any of the astral forms, and Terry just did heavy lines, but it still keeps that ethereal look.
Totally. Yeah. Oh God, the ancient one. What a great design.
He's all sinewy.
Yeah. Not happy.
And again, the drawing fits perfectly with the balloons that are going on there. He's completely just serious, not paying any attention to poor Doctor Strange over his shoulder, who's all emotional,
right?
All this stuff going on. The acting is just so good.
Oh, you ghosts again.
Yep.
Oh, look at that costume. I mean, yes, this is a golden conversation, but that's a Ditko design, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what's so amazing about. I mean, actually, Ditko could do it too. Like as crazy as his designs were, they did work in 3 dimensions. But then Golden's 3-dimensional drawing is just so much stronger that they support and make look real. I mean, it's actually both of you guys do this really well. But it's always fun to see Jeff draw like 10 Avengers at once because Jeff would have to find a way to make sometimes very fantastical costume elements look like they actually worked in 3 dimensions. And certainly,
I think definitely the desire to do that comes from some Michael Golden, some John Buscema, like to have things like there's the idea that a 2-dimensional design pattern is cool looking, but for me, it has to exist in 3-dimensional space. The other thing that I really like about that first panel is that all that background area is just color.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have Temple back there. It would have been cool, and I'm sure Golden would have drawn it beautifully, but what's important is what's being said, and we've already seen the Temple.
Well, that in the background behind Baron Mordo would have distracted from him. Look at all the detail and the textures and whatnot on him. It would have taken away from it. But that's one of the other mastery things. When you mentioned that costume stuff with Golden, one of the reasons I think why he was so good at this, not only was his drawing taking it to the next level, putting that extra time into it, all that kind of thing, but he was also super respectful to the source material where it came from. He could have sit there and futzed with half of that drawing and played with half of the things going, well, I'm going to draw this better than he did, kind of a deal. But I mean, all of this Doctor Strange stuff, the Avengers stuff we saw, any of the Batman stuff from back in the day. Jeff, you didn't put in that poster, the Golden poster, did you?
At the bottom I did, yeah. Let's go ahead.
Did you?
Yeah, hang on, just
put that in for just a second.
Yeah. Let's take a look at.
I'm so jealous of my friend that had this poster and I did not have it.
This one
hurt my soul.
No. The Marvel poster.
Oh no, I didn't put that in.
Oh, okay. Well, that would have shown all his other people that he did. But that was the amazing thing of Michael, was that he could do Kirby stuff. He could do Ditko stuff. He could do stuff that was designed by, I don't know, Don Heck or anybody else that was in there at that time. And he'd make all of it look really cool. He'd also make it all look like Michael Golden.
Right.
But he could handle all those different graphic elements and styles of costume design and the importance of the character and all that kind of stuff. He inherently got a lot of that, which is one of the reasons why I think he excelled so well at this stuff.
Yeah. Just as a quick backup, take a look at that's the
Zipatone, baby.
Right? Look at just the straight up inking, just the straight black and white.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of Post Warriors putting Zipatone when I was inking Jeff in our local newspaper thing. Me trying to cut Zipatone in Jeff's comics.
Cutting zip back in the day was very dangerous, very hard.
It's true, but it gave you an excuse to use a really sharp knife, which is fun.
Sure. Yeah. Once again, that hot pink and the fantastic colors.
And the foreshortening on that Michael Golden hand is incredible.
Yeah.
And the coloring on the ancient one is so great. Like to have him, that was a great way to have him pop in the foreground of that first panel. Just those light blues. And
he's cold.
But there you had the symmetry going between the two there. The two Doctor Stranges from the one that was thought he was real and all of a sudden into the sanitarium. Really good visual storytelling techniques.
The blacks in that shot are so good. the silhouette of Wong, like Sarah's face being completely covered except for that bit of nose.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Golden does so much work with detail, but he also, his choices, like he never wastes detail. Like we don't need to see Sarah's face.
Well, and it's spookier that we don't.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And Dakeem's suit is, excuse me,
So tight.
An amazing. I mean, it looks like a real suit. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be that much longer after this where, you know, we would start to see comic book artists maybe if they had to draw people wearing a suit where it just looked like they were muscular with a few lines drawn on the thing, and that looks like a stylish suit of the late 70s. You know, I
mean, you take a look at I know this is getting super deep into it, but just look at the details and the lighting on the Eye of Agamotto.
I was gonna say, look what's in the box.
Yeah,
look how he laid out. Look, he laid out his cape. He laid it out sideways so it could actually fit in there. The cowl part.
Yeah. Such planning, such incredible attention to detail and what's important for the story.
And I should always looked at this issue for I'm lucky enough to get paid to draw Doctor Strange a little bit, and I think that's how I looked at that's how to draw the Eye of Agamotto right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
We should also mention here, I'm pretty sure that the story has come down the line that this Doctor Strange issue was delayed like a month or two. It was supposed to be an earlier issue.
Just
and of course, Mike's putting in this extra time and effort and making this amazing looking issue. They had to back it up. And I think there was one or two fill-ins they had to throw in quick to fill up the space and keep the book going.
Yeah, this was not most likely a page a day pace, I imagine.
No. I mean, it's just so much going on in every page. And I mean, that's one of the things, like, and it stands the test of time. Like it does, it's still an inspiration.
Yeah. This comic is 39 years old. It was drawn probably 40 years ago now at this point.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Thanks, Steve.
Sorry.
Oh.
And this next page or two is going to, really have some poignant modern day connections.
The Terry Austin inking on Doctor Strange's cape here is so remarkable because it's giving a little bit of a sense of like on the previous threesome of like it's a little bit of almost the equivalent of speed lines. You know, like the lines are on the cape are sort of going in the direction that they would be going, but it's before maybe when people would have actually like blurred the lines off of the actual cape itself. It's pretty amazing. And it feels to me, I could be wrong, but that feels more like golden covers than Gwyneth colors, like for all those greens on Doctor Strange and the greens in the background. But I completely could be wrong. But
what I also like about that cape, Steve, is that on that third panel there, that it has all that weight to it. You can feel that it's this heavy drapery, which then, Jeff, go to the next one. Then it's flying. Then it's different.
Yeah.
Then it has life to it that it didn't have before in the other ones. And then it goes back to being drapery once he dropped onto the car.
Look at how great and distinct all of these background characters are. They are not generic. Each one is a character unto itself, either in the top thing when they were inside the bookstore, where they're all colored green, or these people out on the street. I definitely know for sure I've stolen those cars.
I was about to say, but look at those cars, man.
Amazing. They're amazing.
Those are the most realistically individualistic portrayed freaking cars at that time. He's so good at that stuff.
The thing that's always been something that the Golden does that I can't do is he's able to cartoon everything a little bit. Whether it's a car or a helicopter or a motorcycle or the human figure, it's always based in reality, but it's just got a little something extra to it.
You're right. It's an amazing combination of cartooning with, like a representational version of reality as well, And
also, just to point out, obviously, Stern's bookstore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
But that show is a group of people that, like working together, that, they'd want to throw that in there. It was either Michael or the letterer or somebody threw that in. So it, it shows a good creative group working together and having fun that they would think of doing something like that.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Beyond Ragador. Boy, would I love to see that.
Apart from this page just being awesome and Doctor Strange being a movie, Doctor Strange 2, right?
Yeah.
I could not find what Doctor Strange 1 was, and I looked it up. So here's the thing. I spent a lot of time trying to find out who Cameron Powell was.
And
so there, I could not find an actor of Cameron Powell. I could not find an author. I couldn't find another artist. At one point, I even thought Cameron Powell might be an anagram. So I tried to figure out what that was.
Oh, Jeff.
That's coming up in a minute.
Yeah. No, the anagrams are coming up in a second. So that was kind of what I thought. I thought this must also be an anagram. I could not find an anagram. But when you do look up Cameron Powell, this comic comes up.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. The only thing we can find about Cameron Powell is this comic.
There's some remarkable textures in this whole, like whatever that sort of texture is on the shadow.
Right.
In the first panel, the beautiful lines, and then on the and then all the textures on the building are so great in here. Again, just a great collection of different kinds of kids. And dropping out all the, we have one layer of colored, kids that have been colored in, and then we have the next where they're all just the same color, so it doesn't get too crazy.
Well, again, just like the cape thing before, that there was the cape shot that had the weight to it and the flowing, and then it was flying in the next one. We're introduced to the kids in this panel. They're like, oh, they're nice, happy kids, right? This is all wonderful. Not until the next panel.
Zombie kids.
Yeah.
Boom. Look at those scary kids.
Well, wait, I think Jeff skipped a panel. But,
I don't think so.
No. Oh, wait a minute. There is the running one.
Oh, is there the running one? 15, 14, 15. There we go. Sorry.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And that to me again feels like Michael Golden color suggestions on the kids to the left. I could be wrong, but just that pale pink and green contrast.
Yeah. That's
very colors.
Yeah.
And then Golden just like, that's such a great, because the temptation of, very, very often you would have had Doctor Strange in that foreground of that shot, running, looking terrified, and it's such a cool, interesting shot that we just see his hands in the cape,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We get so much emotion in the cape.
And
but
so
then it plays well
motion.
that all you really need is that thought balloon.
Yeah.
Seraphim, save me.
Well, also maybe because, there would have been something not very cool about seeing Doctor Strange running from children, seeing his face and stuff,
That's true. And then hiding behind garbage cans.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but on this next page, that second panel, the one with Doctor Strange behind the garbage cans,
right?
That the panel in general, but the Doctor Strange and his face and stuff like that, that really actually reminds me of Gene Colan.
Mm.
Oh, there's a couple. I definitely saw some Gene Colan in this issue, and Gene did some fantastic Doctor Stranges too, right? I'm wondering if
that made an impression on Mike.
We got coming up. There's like one full drawing that I felt like that is full Golden or full Colan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful shot. And again, those cars.
Yeah, and the detail in the lamp.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, this is like a working man's shot. This is for storytelling. This isn't just sitting out here to be pretty for this or that. This is to tell you what's going on so we can get to the next panel and you have no doubts about where you are, what's going on.
But it's again, Golden's always really putting us in the real world, but it's a cartoony real world. But then because of his rendering, you're like, it's tricking you into not thinking it's as cartoony as it is,
Well, also, I don't know if you guys, I know you guys have both been to New York, and I know you guys have both been to the Village. But one of the things that I think is really appropriate is like the streets are not corners the way we would know, like a lot of New York streets are. The Village isn't like that. It does have corners, but it has a lot of weird intersections and
nooks and crannies
shapes because it used to be an actual village before paved roads.
Yeah, the only thing missing from the shot is the 500 people that would be walking around and jaywalking and everything else going on. But yet, at the same time, I make that joke, but really, again, this is for storytelling purposes. There's a reason why there's not 500 people here.
Right. I mean, there are. There
are 7 or 8 people,
and that guy's definitely jaywalking over there by the corner.
Yes, he was.
You know, he was just cutting across.
But I mean, in the next page or whatever, we're going to see a reason why that was just a little bit of an odd open space. But go ahead.
Mm. Yeah, this is Golden and Roger Stern, I imagine.
No, this is it's Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Boy, am I dopey.
And here comes in the anagram.
This was the anagram thing that sent me off on that wild goose chase.
For Cameron. Yeah.
I thought for sure that we're doing anagrams. Oh, and that Cameron Powell must be someone. But nope, not that I could find. I mean, maybe there's an Uber fan out there somewhere that knows if Cameron Powell is an anagram or not. But I could not find it anywhere.
Ted Tavosky and Les Tane.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh wait, hang on a second.
It?
Buzz.
Buzz is very much on point with his Michael Golden Doctor Strange knowledge, I must say.
100%. Yeah. So I think that's a really good observation. Right. See, I was right. Yeah. Yeah. Streets are weird.
Yeah.
Look
right.
at that drawing of the desk lamp. I feel like in one of Jeff's first comic book samples, Jeff did this amazing 5-page Animal Man.
It's so pretentious.
I gotta see if we have somewhere out there. Like Jeff basically did Animal Man doing To Be or Not to Be over the whole speech over like 5 things. And there's a great thing where, and it was very much
20. That's
it was very much in keeping with Grant Morrison's run at the time, where it was very meta, because at the end, Animal Man like made his way into Jeff's Walnut Creek apartment and landed and like talked to Jeff. And Jeff had a great drawing. Like Jeff drew his art desk in the apartment masterfully, and it had exactly the same kind of lamp that Mr. Golden has given to Mr.
Yeah, I mean, that was the lamp du jour for sure. Yeah, no,
I was going to say this must have been in Kyle Rayner's apartment too.
Oh yeah, exactly. you draw what you know, right? And if you're drawing a comic artist, you draw your own stuff. Yeah, it's funny too, because Steve, you mentioned the putting yourself into a comic. It happens every once in a while, and I always like it when you break the fourth wall in that way. I think that especially if you're trying to do a story about creation and who's created and what is reality and what is perception, I think when a comic book artist or writer put themselves into that kind of story, I always think that that's really interesting for the reader to kind of like, it kind of makes them feel as though they're also part of the meta experience.
Well, I mean, certainly I very much enjoyed me and Scott being in almost all of your comics of the 90s, and especially when Scott got to be Blood Wolf and I got to be Supreme, basically. Every panel.
What's funny is like you guys are in the new one too. You're in Rogue's Kingdom. You guys are both Steve and Dan are palace guards, and Scott is a palace watchman, like who has a telescope and stuff. You guys.
I want to be the librarian guy.
No, the librarian guy's too old. Soon you can be the librarian guy. But when I started it years ago, you're still too young. Yeah.
It's fun. I think I had you take a picture of me to pose as for a Punisher cover that I did.
Oh, look, it's such a great.
Well, and storytelling wise, now back to this stuff with what Roger's doing here that Michael's carrying through, but he's taken us piece by piece about taking us from the reality that Doctor Strange knew into this nothing is real premise that he's going with or whatever. So just like you said, Jeff, he's breaking the fourth wall here. He's letting us know that there's a comic book about Doctor Strange, and they're saying, well, we created this guy, man. Hey, you look pretty close to him. I like the mustache. That's pretty good.
Right.
And then he tosses them here in the last panel, and they turn into cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
Because obviously the pitch for this issue is obviously like, Doctor Strange has It's a Wonderful Life moment, where what would happen if he doesn't exist? But then it takes a Twilight Zone turn, you know.
Yeah.
You guys take a look at the Ditko character, who I think he's wearing his little pink slippers.
That's so funny.
That is such an artist thing to be wearing.
Yeah.
What does Mike know about that one? What research did he do for that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's his chair. I'm sure those are his slippers, and I bet that's his lamp.
Jeff is always there's a big era where Jeff used to draw with big puffy slippers for a long time.
Listen, your feet get cold when you're drawing. All the blood goes to your head.
Given the fact that you have hobbit feet, I've always been surprised by how much you like to cover them up as well. But
you lose a lot of heat through your toes. All right.
Such a great. This is, I mean, miniature Marvel characters. Look at Cyclops carrying the prop lighting.
No, my favorite thing on the page, the Dormammu lamp.
Yeah.
Wait.
You see it?
Oh my God! Oh, yeah. I mean, just the detail on the pattern on the staircase railing is incredible.
Right.
You know? And who's in the photo?
That's what I was going to say. Who's in the painting on the wall?
It
almost kind of looks like Stan Lee, but I'm not sure.
Buzz, can you help us? Do you know?
Yeah, come on, Buzz.
Right, but I love it that this scene, that kid's from scene 3.
Yeah, little Iron Man, little Spidey, little Cyclops with the stage lighting. God, that Dormammu. How did I miss that? That is fucking hysterical. And then is little Cap, is that a clipboard he has with a cap shield on the back?
With a shield on it, yep.
And also none of their costumes fit quite right.
Hulk's got big old boots, big old belly.
Yeah.
Well, and Thor back there looks like a little, like, I don't know, dwarf rough and tumble guy. He doesn't even look like a normal little guy. He doesn't look like a kid or anything.
Yeah.
God, those are a great series of panels. All right. I never stole this panel directly, but I think every time I ever had to draw a group shot, I was trying to do some version of this shot, you know?
Yeah.
Henry Jeremek says it's Al Milgrom, which I certainly would believe.
Oh, for the picture in the back. Yeah, absolutely. That could have been.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Is it Al?
That could be.
All right. Well, Al was the editor-in-chief at this point, right? Or the editor?
He edited this issue, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
But again, it was like, okay, you know these really cool characters, these defenders that everybody knows about? Oh, this is so awesome. Look, even Michael made him look really cool here, and like every other comic we know. Bam, then we go to the next panel.
They look so much. This is the coolest they have ever looked. They look so good. And and Valkyrie looks so beautiful. Like, you know, Damian Hellstrom looks like a badass. Gargoyle, you know, it's just amazing. And I mean, just look at even just the design of the trident, right? It's not even. It's not I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not the Sidus trident. One of the things I really like too is, even though this is just one panel, right, and we're just introducing these characters, we still get that classic comic book download of information. We get in the captions who all these characters are. Yeah. Smooth, succinct, just you don't have to wonder. Like, you know, like it never occurs to you to ask who are the defenders. You get the information.
Yep.
Agreed. Great textures in the plain backgrounds on the next. Yeah, God, that's so good.
So good.
Valkyrie, no.
Yeah.
I love this Valkyrie costume too, by the way.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely. This is Sal Buscema, I think.
Can you imagine, Scott, if you were to get today, had you not seen this comic, right? If someone writes in a script and then that character deflates like a balloon.
Yeah.
How in the hell would you even think to draw that?
Well, see, that's the funny thing, is he actually went like an animated version there. She's flying in the sky going.
Right.
If anything, my first thought would have been that she would have been like falling down to the ground, turning into a little puddle.
Yeah.
And the
But no,
smoke,
it's so much cooler that she's flipping through the air.
Yeah.
and that it's a down shot, and she's coming at us. You know, it's
And the wig is coming off.
so good.
Yeah. Just the level of forethought.
And it has this impression on Doctor Strange. He doesn't even, sit back and go, well, that's a doll. What are you talking about? He says, Valkyrie, no.
Yeah.
Because that was her to him.
Well, and again, with Golden's textures are so good. Like the material that Dakim's stuff is made out of is so thick. Valkyrie's cape is so thick. Doc Strange's cape is so thick. But then look at this next panel. There's a million things to unpack in this panel. But what I really notice is you can clearly see that Golden is implying that the yellow, weird, gurgly pattern is of a different texture of material than the rest of the suit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all
it fits in more with the cowl. It's a little more stiff, like a cardboard or something.
exactly. Yep. And that's remarkable. I mean, it's insane.
Perfect design. Pay attention to stuff.
Hellstrom is spinning. He's spinning his pitchfork.
Yeah.
And now look at that Doctor Strange face.
I definitely stole that face in my Batman samples.
I studied that a million times.
The line work that Terry is doing in those shadows is unbelievable.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Hi, Chihuahua.
Yeah.
But here we are. We're reaching the point now. Nothing you know is real, Stephen.
Hey, wait, huh?
Yeah.
So it goes from all being white, right? Like it's all white, to now as it's really starting to sink in on him. Like you can see, he's starting to lose it. It's black now. He's overwhelmed.
Yep.
Right. It goes from earlier on when it's just him and his astral form. There's white backgrounds and like throughout the whole thing, it's been becoming darker and darker until finally now he's just covered in shadow. Look how small he is in that middle panel.
And that so much of him is dropping out. And the drawing is still so solid. And then, just that knife, and look at the fucking design on that hilt.
Yeah. Yeah, the bones and the skeleton.
There's also something design-wise I really like about this page too. Jeff, you mentioned that second panel where Strange is so small. Mm-hmm. Look at, if you create a triangle between the size and shape of Dakim in panel 1 to a triangle point of Doctor Strange number 2, they almost work together, and then point at the dagger for the third to fourth panel.
What I love too is the dagger actually, you shoot past the dagger from the smile of the evil sorcerer from despair, but it drops you down past that moment where Doctor Strange is like, you think he's going to fold, but it shoots you past that right into the explosion, the resistance.
Yeah.
And that fourth panel, just the shadowing on that fourth panel is remarkable. Like, amazing. And then the fifth panel where literally the blackness is breaking, right? Like it's sort of
Even around him, it's not just the background. It's part of him is being shattered by this as well.
Yeah.
Little Kirby dots there as the spell comes out. Thank you very much.
And the whiteout dots are. Terry could have done that scratch stuff too on this, where he's breaking up the line like rain.
Probably. All right, 20.
But then those textures play into the top
panel, right? Like
continues on through.
Oh yeah, and this is the first time that we have sort of almost. This is a very Gene Colan page.
Yes,
about it, right? Like
yes. That second shot transition of Dakim to despair.
Yeah,
it's hugely Gene.
God, look at that cape. I mean, apart from everything being beautifully drawn, as you slide down the transformation into Doc Strange's cape, his face leading into Despair's face, framed by the rain-soaked window, and then as you pull over, brings you back in with the scrolls.
Yeah,
this is a visual journey.
It's
like you take.
It's like a weird number 6. It starts at the top of the word balloon and Dakim's a hat, and then you follow it down through the transition from Dakeem to despair, and then you ride the smoke, down through
back up to Dakeem's beard, yeah,
to the brazier, and then the brazier curves you around, and then the scroll curves you around to Strange's cape, which curves you back around to Strange's face, which curves you back around to despair in the bottom again. It's like a Haichi fucking wow. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the tough things about deconstructing Michael Golden and absorbing Michael Golden is like there's so much to study on every level. If you want to study the textures of fabric, if you want to study interesting figure drawing, if you want to study compositions or special effects or lighting, or even just storytelling philosophy, it's all operating at a 10. So it's difficult to absorb all of it, right? Like, I don't think I even understood half of what was going on until I'd been drawing comics for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, because he's even free-flowing here. He's doing stuff that I wouldn't, I would have my rules and stuff backing up that I wouldn't be able to do the thing there, where he's got Dakeem, who on the previous page was on the left-hand side, so he carried it over here that he's on the left. But then as he changes to despair, he's facing the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't think of that. I love how they flow and everything, but me laying it out, I wouldn't think of it that way. I'd have to have despair facing the same way or facing Doctor Strange or something like that. And you don't need to. It still carries over.
I would have done the same thing. I would have had them facing the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, that
could have made it more stiff. This way was very fluid.
No. It's
What was that, Steve?
I said I wouldn't. I mean, I would have done it how Michael Golden did. But
obviously, you would have.
I mean, all through this whole, but the hands too. The hands in this whole goddamn issue are just fantastic.
Yeah. And that freaking case.
Speaking of, and that, everyone's hands are different. Despair's hands, Dakeem's hands, Doc Strange's hands.
Yeah.
The clawness of his hands and boniness skeletal of the hands and knobs and everything is so cool.
The consistency of the design of this brazier.
Oh yeah.
Or brazier.
Brazier.
Yep. Brazier, yeah.
Yeah, but look at, I mean, one of the things, yes, Michael Golden deserves all the props, but look at the amazing line work on those scrolls in the foreground.
Incredible.
Yep.
All right. Oh, yeah. Now our next one, we're coming to. I mean, this.
But all this stuff working together so well. I mean, look at the colors that are coming out of that brazier, intermixed with the scroll on the right, or the yellow behind everybody, or the colors that are even behind Doctor Strange there, mixed with the light blue color that's used for Despair's hand. All these things are coming together in one just, beautiful image after image after image to storytelling, get the stuff across. Just like you were talking about with those captions that we got when we met the Defenders or something. It's all just to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody today would have put all sorts of crazy colors, maybe, on that Despair hand, thinking they could do something really cool there. There's no need.
I do think that the tendency now is to color things more realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think I think the debate, and I personally believe that a lot of times that pulls focus. That if you're over rendering, if you're not using colors judiciously, I think that will pull focus from the black and white composition, especially something like this, where the black and white composition is so expertly planned out.
Yep.
But I think, when we were talking about our Primal episode, and Scott Wills, the art director there, one of their big things they talk about is that, not blue skies and not green, that Primal and that whole Gendy's whole team is a great example of, they just pick great colors and they don't feel tied to having to make them quote unquote realistic,
Right.
Henry Jarmick just makes a great comment about the rain on the window as well in the previous page, which I think is so great too, because we've been seeing Doctor Strange's, window throughout the episode, and it's never had rain. And now that we're back in reality, it ties us right back to the fact that, like, oh wait, it's raining outside. We're back in reality again.
Totally. Right. That's a really great subconscious cue for us to know what is the spell and what is the mind game and what is really happening.
And so great that Despair's color scheme essentially is that of like a rainy glass on a window.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it works with it really well. But again, we have the rain on the glass and all that stuff because Doctor Strange was incredibly sad today.
Yeah.
But I mean all right, panel 2 is bananas with the
yep.
it looks like no human being has ever been in as much pain as that shot with the green and yellow, Good heavens, that scream from upstairs. I just love the detail that Sarah had the busy drawer open from the filing cabinet,
right.
Dropping her pen.
She's doing her job. Right. She told us what she did in the beginning, and then we see her doing it.
Okay, I actually almost wonder if panel 4 is a swipe from Golden, if that's a Kolin homage. I mean, look, it
really seems heavily influenced. Yeah,
it does really kind of look like a Dracula drawing.
It does, right? I mean, the hand, the shadows, it's incredible, man.
I've never made the connection between Kolin and Golden.
Me neither.
I don't think of it normally, but it happens on this issue.
Yeah. And then
I'll have to go back and look and see if there is. I'm sure. I mean, Kolin is one of the most influential artists of his generation. So I just wonder if he couldn't help, especially if you're doing Doc Strange, kind of study some of his deal.
We'll have to talk about a Kolin issue at some point.
Oh yeah.
And he is so judicious in his use of. It's all about storytelling. So having Despair's hand break the panel borders, that's not something we've had a ton in this whole issue.
Right.
Like with the dagger did it. I mean, he did it a little, and Golden probably did it more than a lot, and then it may have inadvertently led people to do it more than they should have. People that were inspired by Golden might have swiped from panels like that bottom one with Despair too much, but man, is it effective.
I love that bottom panel. Yeah.
That's so incredible.
Gorgeous. So scary.
What an amazing, running up the stairs. Sarah's not on the ground,
Yep.
Yeah.
All the design work, the interior design work. Look at that bananas lamp, lamp.
Or that giant mask on the wall.
Yeah,
I know. Yep.
And the planter and the now it makes me want to go look at the Doctor Strange movie again and go how close are some of those rafters in the Doctor Strange film or Thor Ragnarok, or not rafters? What do you call it? The banister at the bottom of the.
Yeah.
Hey Steve, does that planter look like the devil dog?
Yeah,
a little bit, doesn't it?
More than a little bit, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a whole devil dog episode on a different day.
Yeah, I used to have an object that was definitely cursed, and Jones didn't like it. It was it lived in the studio for a long time, and it looked a lot like that planter.
And it will not surprise anyone to know that we have Dan Panosian to blame for that.
It was definitely cursed. All right, let's move on. And then we get the great shot of Doctor Strange
multiplying himself.
Yeah.
Casting a minor illusion spell, first level.
Images of icon.
I love that texture behind that duplication spell too. But then and what a great, so interesting that's kind of a top-down shot of Despair fight. A lot of people would have done that at cam.
I would have.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
That it's just, but it just seems so powerful that way too.
It does.
Doc dodging out of the way again. Amazing foreshortening on all of Stephen Strange's hands on this page.
And once again, the great Roger Stern dialogue. That we don't need to see it; we can read it.
I wonder if in that Doc Strange panel did Golden photocopy those shots, because now
that's what I was just looking at to see if there's any differences I could figure out.
I look at them a lot. They're definitely he might have traced them the same, but they're subtly different.
You think they're re-inked? Because now obviously we would just cut and paste,
Oh no, they're not cut and paste. Those are all on the page.
The line work is so similar.
Yeah, but you can tell I studied it quite closely to see, because I had that same question.
Oh no, I think Jeff's right, because when you look at the second guy's cape, it's subtly different because it actually reflects that you would be seeing him from a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny is I don't know why there's that yellow on his cowl on that one on the bottom on the left, but it's in my regular comic book too. So it must have been just part of the thing. It wasn't a printer error.
They color
over brazier.
They color corrected it in the digital version.
Trippy.
Oh, that's right. This is probably just a scan of somebody's comic book, right?
Yeah. All right, then that, and then this.
Oh man.
So good.
This is where we're going off the deep end. Now we've gotten into fifth gear or whatever, hitting the hyperdrive. Every one of these things, there's so much information going on. It's crazy.
The panel 1 and 2 definitely have some Tom Sutton in there, or like inspired by just the horrible, crazy creatures from Tom Sutton, which I guess maybe Tom Sutton might have designed them. I don't know my Doctor Strange issues enough, but because they're referencing some bad guys that have been in the comic before.
Yeah, the Nagari, and that's one of those things where I think that was one of Roger Stern's real brilliant things that he was always able to do. He was so well versed in the Marvel Universe in general, all the different pieces of it and different kinds of books, that he would bring that in, that he would bring in the Nagari here is just a great another piece, because again, Despair is trying to fool Doctor Strange at this point. He's throwing in all these other crazy things at this point to fake out Doctor Strange that there's a different kind of enemy to face right now.
Right. Right. So that's still an illusion, right? It's just him tricking him, right? Which makes sense when we go to the next panel.
Well, and just the lighting.
Oh, wait. That third panel.
Yeah, the lighting on
my God.
The lighting on his face, the lighting on the hands, the drawings of both those hands. I mean,
yeah. Well, and other people pointed this out too. Look at Doctor Strange's eyes in there. We've seen lots of people draw those eyes later on.
Yeah.
But up until this point, I don't know if we've seen anybody draw those black not the iris. What's the white part?
I think you're just called the whites of the eyes. I don't know the scientific name, but
there's a name for it. But for them being black there, and then the irises being, a color or red there, whatever they are, makes him super freaking spooky.
Yeah, like he's definitely being magic.
Yeah. We've never seen the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak like that. Yeah.
I mean, but just to go back, like, yes, the Kirby Crackle with the Terry Austin feathering, the Michael Golden, the touch to it, like that's, it's a classic visual image done in a way that just is more,
and I don't think I ever noticed until this moment just that Doc's entire face is in black in that second shot, and that's so great because it's such a little thing, and from the lighting it makes perfect sense just make it all a silhouette,
Yeah. All right.
Or a Riso in the house. Delicious. Delightful.
He is making those Crimson Bands sing so much as they whip around with the energy and the motion and power and everything.
Just the movement of them, yeah.
They look solid.
It's so funny. I don't know, people who don't draw comics, though I'm sure anyone watching this show loves comics and loves the art and loves the process of it. But for the three of us, when you see a panel like that, it's inspiring and it's a kick in the nuts at the same time, because you look at it and you go like, wow, so this is possible. But then in the same moment you go, how do I get there?
It's strange to simultaneously be kicked in the groin and feel inspired.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where with the other pages with Michael, like we pointed out those cars or the drapery or this thing. Oh, okay, he could look at this, and he studied this, or he found these statues if he went through enough magazines and he did all his hard work. You can't do the reference on the Crimson Bands.
Right.
You can't do the reference. That's where Kirby dots and all these kind of things, are so magical in their way. But if you use them right, man, that's just
pure imagination. It's just pure comic books.
The Kirby dots and lines and the way they're all used on this page, it looks like they were regular ones that were warped using the warp tool in Photoshop, like to do it by hand.
Yeah.
And Despair's cape is whipping around because of the bands are whipping around him and everything.
And again, that last shot of them running up this, but you just sort of feel like, well, of course, they're just human, and there's a lot of stories on 177A Bleecker Street, for them.
Yeah, it's a crazy tall building.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the God, that's a tough one. A little close up for you.
I cannot be destroyed.
That's a great shot.
Yeah. I did a close with this one because I wanted to focus in on just the subtlety of the inking in his hand.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's double lighting.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Yep.
And now too, I mean, also like, Jeff and all of us had to burn through so many Polaroids in the 90s. I mean, now, as long as you don't live alone, and even if you do with a timer, you can use your phone to take a picture of your hand coming at screen like this to be able to get the reference. But so much harder to do at this point,
Yeah. Oh, all right. Hang on a second. I know where this is.
That
this one.
Orb
This
of
one's taking a little
Agamotto.
bit tight there.
Zipatone, black.
All right.
Now is not a time for questions, Sarah. Now is the time for haste.
Yeah.
This is the page, gentlemen. This has my favorite Doctor Strange stuff on it of all time.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite one?
Panel 3 feels very Colin-esque as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, that panel 4. Oh my Lord, that Doctor Strange figure. This is his heroic moment. This is when he's defeating the villain and everything else going on. But it's a shot from behind. You don't get to see his face, but the power is there and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Look how his
specificity
cape is whipping around.
The specificity. Yeah, exactly. Like his cape is actually like you can feel the momentum that he's getting blown back.
Yeah.
The specificity of those hand gestures. He's doing his classic Ditko Spidey on the one hand, but then the other one is doing kind of like a more of a Eric Lenshear, Michael Fassbender Magneto hand pose.
Yep. He's wrapping it up.
Yeah. And just even in that second panel where, so one of the his use of panel shape is subtle here, right? Because it's just, it's all kind of pointing down to the bands.
Yep.
Even that triangle where Clea's face is. So it's all aimed at the goal of Despair being trapped.
And panel 1 and 3 are so great because just like in a comic, in an animation storyboard, if you'd have a big, a big emotion shift like that, but the fact that, Strange's face is all lit up with light to some degree as he's in that look of shock as we see Clee, and then just the darkness and the shadow and the resolve of like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
You might have almost had me with this trick before, but now,
the emotion on there is solid and great. And he was still smart. He kept the close-ups on Doctor Strange for those panels 1 and 3. And even though, we're supposed to be emotionally connected to Clea on that second panel, it's much smarter to actually have her at a distance. He's still selling the emotion of this supposed fake Clea in there.
Yeah.
But it was much more important to be closer on Steven.
Yeah.
So good.
And we wrap it up.
God
But the
damn
thing
it.
I love is back to the house, like pulling outside the house to show the magnitude of that energy disbursement.
Yep.
That lightning going the other way, right? Like the lightning's been coming down since the panel 1, and now it's going up, right? Like everything's been coming down on him, and the transition now where it's all going the other way.
Amazing how clear that it is going up and not the other
I was just
way.
going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so he has defeated his demons, right? I think this is really a great story.
Yep.
I mean, a part of all this that we're talking about, just the idea of being so down and then going through the despair and fighting your demons and then finding the way out. Like the idea that a comic could be inspiring, not artistically, but emotionally. Like this is a comic that will save a man's soul in a dark time.
Right. Yep.
No, it's a great heroic story in this, and could gone really dark or anything else, but it's such a great story. What's also great about that lightning going up from the house is look at that little like extra layer in the middle, just above the house, like it was breaking through a shell, like it was a protective barrier or something that the Doctor might have had around the house. But
speaking to Jeff's point, this is the Roger Stern, Michael Golden equivalent of Billy Joel's "Don't Forget Your Second Wind."
Yeah.
Yep.
The 80s were very hopeful.
Panel 3 is so incredible. All the black and the wind. It still got the rain on the window. So much of
the cape is floating off on its own.
I love that.
Not needed at the moment. Yeah.
That one, that panel 3 makes me think of Ditko a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then, my God, that last shot. Oh, well, Jeff.
Yeah, holding the dagger.
The dagger, the gleam on it, like the heavy. The fact that you could have so heavily light, such a ostensibly hopeful shot,
and think about this here for this, and then leading to the next panel. This was part of Despair's illusion. It's still here.
Oh yeah, the dagger.
Crazy.
Despair is gone. Despair's been cast out, but the dagger is still here until the next panel when Doctor Strange himself, again, physically with his hand on it, he dispels it. He gets rid of it.
Yeah, amazing.
The dagger is the last bit of the illusion.
Yeah.
The dagger is the last bit of the choice.
The real threat.
And it's very, very Shakespearean and Prince of Denmark-ish,
I can't remember
if it's beautiful disappearing dagger. Look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't remember who wrote. I think it might have been Camus who said that. And I'm paraphrasing. If you have not faced the idea of killing yourself, then you have not really decided to live.
Right.
Is that Camus?
And very great, like Stephen Strange, like he makes it disappear as his friends are coming in, and he's like, not bragging about it, not drawing any attention to it, not
right.
Exactly.
Shout my foot, Doc. Is everything all right? Great.
But look at Doctor Strange in that panel. He's not gloating over this victory.
No. He's
He just knows he survived.
The upshot lighting on that panel is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's still scared out of her wits.
Right. Because as far as they know, some shit was going down.
Yeah,
they heard the house breaking.
Right.
Yep.
And
yet Wong was cool in that panel.
Sweet Zipatone.
Oh,
This ain't Wong's first rodeo. Sarah's new to the group.
Nope. He knows this.
I love that it ends here with the sun breaking through the clouds.
Exactly. It's rain the whole time. Exactly.
And the rain is over.
Wong, I think I'd like something to eat now. And just the old school, like, word balloons coming out of the background.
Right.
Yeah, actually in through the window. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. So in addition to those panels, I threw some black and white. Oh, okay. So that was quite a journey. I am emotionally taxed.
For sure.
But I feel better.
And think about this. We've read this issue umpteen, dozens and dozens of times over the years. We've had this book for so long. And yet still, you look at it again and you're just sucked into this beautifully told, emotionally draining story.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons that it has lasted so long. Apart from it being a bunch of professionals all operating at the top of their game, they had something to say, right? Like, there's clearly an emotional connectivity to every. I mean,
Ron Salas makes a really great point. I think we talked about this last week with X-Men 133. This is a single issue that these days would have been 5 issues, and the incredible economy in which so much story used to be able to fit into, not even 22 pages, sometimes 17 pages.
Right.
And the fact that none of this is crammed or cramped. Like, you could make that argument sometimes about a Claremont comic just because there was a lot of dialogue in there. Right. It was all great dialogue, but I mean, yeah, there's so good.
Yeah, one of the best comics ever. So just some black and white.
Ooh. Oh, and we didn't even get that last page in there. There's a pinup at the end of the book.
Oh my God!
I do not remember that.
We
pinup.
need to put that up, Jeff. I forgot. It's
I
Clee
didn't have
forgot
that.
to put that one in there.
because
I don't think that's in the collections on the
Hang on a
online stuff
second.
much.
Hang on.
Did you-
Let's get a focus on that.
Did you guys ever see the Michael Golden? I think it came before this one. There's a great little just like Michael Golden 8-page story, like in the back. It's a backup where Clee and Doctor Strange are at the
They're on
beach.
vacation at the ocean beach. Yeah,
It's
Right.
amazing. God
Okay,
damn, that's amazing.
You don't have. Here you go.
look at that.
I don't have that, but I have that.
Yes. Now, see, that's the thing is those little bits of Doctor Strange that Golden did, plus this issue. I think this was the only full-size issue he did for Doctor Strange.
He
But
did do this.
it's so popular that it led to this. What do you call it? A portfolio.
Yeah.
And I remember other friends having this at the time, and I wanted.
Pete, that's right, Pete
so
Craig.
cool.
I gotta
Look
find
at
that.
wait, go back.
Backup.
Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah.
Look, the Eye of Agamotto is out of his chest piece.
Yeah. Looking at the
It's so good.
It's so magical. It's just it's so creepy and different than any. He's one of my all-time favorite characters. I've always wanted to do a Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah.
You got to draw him here and there, Jeff, didn't you?
I have drawn him occasionally, but never in a book. I've drawn him in groups of other things, right? But like, and I've done a couple of commission pieces of him, and I did some trading cards and whatnot. But like, I've always wanted to do a Doctor Strange run because I just think that the mystical stuff is so interesting and it's so different than any other character in the Marvel universe. But the Paul Smith run right after this issue is so damn good, and I can't imagine that I would have done anything. I mean, that would have been my approach. The Paul Smith approach would definitely have been more my approach. The guy doing magic.
Buzz,
I've never done it as well as Paul Smith, so I'm glad that I never had to.
Do any of the people watching? Does anyone know the issue that has the Clee backup story that's inked by P. Craig Russell?
I don't know if I grabbed that one.
Oh, I think it's Doctor Strange number 46, maybe. Let me look.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh yeah, Frank Miller cover.
Yep. Yeah, and Buzz is right too. I think this story is inked by Pete Craig.
Yeah. Well, Pete Craig had an affinity for Doctor Strange. He did some incredible Doctor Strange stuff. Like whenever he drew magic, it was always very lyrical.
And on this backup story, Michael did color it. He is credited as the colorist.
Oh my God, so good! Look at that. The special
Wish my
effects.
camera was better.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Up another page. Because this stuff was really, really cool.
Clee's so beautiful. There's a last shot. Doctor Strange looks like Timothy Dalton in all these shots.
He does in this one, yeah.
He's very swashbucklery.
And yet he's still got the Michael Golden giant eyes from back in this day.
God damn, that one's good.
It's such a great little story that it's, again, like nobody knows about this stuff except for the very few.
Oh my lordy, lord. So good.
Were you saying something about the last panel in this one? Oh, this last page?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just an amazing sequence of 1, 2, 3.
So cool.
And then the Clee looks so beautiful, and Doctor Strange looks just like fucking Timothy Dalton in that shot. I'm sorry.
He does.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Oh,
and interesting to see that the costume is different and then the one we just watched.
Oh, he forgot the
he doesn't really do the swirly, quirly yellow.
He forgot the yellow part on top.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or Pete Craig did, whichever.
Yeah.
Well,
amazing.
Maybe it's Inside Out.
What year is this?
I sure hope they make Rachel McAdams become Clee.
That's who they're talking about?
Oh no, I mean, or just the fact that it makes you wonder, like, why would this pretty good actress agree to just be Doctor Strange's girlfriend? You kind of hope that. I mean, I always loved Clee.
Yeah.
In my bag with 46.
Oh yeah. Hang on a second. Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Dragon by Michael Golden.
Bananas. Yeah.
But it's one of those things that he's just giantly famous for now. In fact, I believe it's a regular thing that I don't even think that Michael likes to do Doctor Strange convention sketches or anything anymore. He doesn't like do commissions of Doctor Strange because he's done so many.
Oh, yes.
Everybody asks.
I mean, that's a tough. We could do a whole episode on like if you were gonna get a Michael Golden commission, what would it be?
Well, that's going back to what Scott mentioned when he drew the Marvel Universe. You're just like, that's what I want the Marvel Universe to look like all the time. And I think that's what was so fun about the Avengers Annual 10, right? Is that you got to see him draw. I mean, his Iron Man is just the greatest. His Wonder
Man was ridiculous.
That's true too.
Yeah. Oh, what'd you get there?
A dinosaur?
Oh, you got a Michael Golden dinosaur?
I mean, that's pretty goddamn good.
I told him to draw whatever dinosaur he wanted.
Oh. Wow. All right. That guy's mad looking.
He definitely draws it as if he had photo reference of that dinosaur, even though there are not.
looking pissed off.
And he drew my favorite dinosaur without me telling him.
Well, he's psychic. He is magic.
Oh, and by the way, these are super really cool Michael Golden books.
So good.
So in the description, I listed his Facebook page. Everyone should join it and check out everything that he does. And also I listed an Amazon link to his book, his sketchbook. Not his sketchbook, but The Art of Michael Golden. So
yeah. We should have put in there too that it's all connected to, I think, Eva Inc., Renee's website.
Right. So anyone who is not familiar with Michael Golden's work, which is hard to believe that there's anyone out there who hasn't seen it yet, but if you don't have his art of book, get it. And if you don't have anything that he does,
Wayne's a lucky guy.
Yeah, but look, Wayne also had to wait 11 years. Or no, somebody else, JC had to wait 11 years. I mean, what happens if you got a Michael Golden, you're on the list and you die? That's rough. Yeah.
Man, he's so good. He said he's one of the geniuses of the craft. That's for sure.
All right. Well,
all right, gentlemen.
But these are the backbones of our series. I mean, this is the stuff that made, comics stick for us and become all this tapestry of the stuff that we enjoy. It wasn't just these one-offs of this or that. It was how everything built together. It's just all of these guys who had this dedication at its time. And at this point, remember, so much of it was unsung.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like there were conventions. It's not like there were TV appearances or movie appearances or anything else going on. Right. These guys just worked really hard on this stuff because they loved it.
Yeah. It was a labor of love for sure.
Well, very grateful to everyone that has tuned in tonight and last time. And we are also going to go back like we did with Primal. We're going to talk about some cartoons and we're going to talk about some movies and stuff too. But it is really fun to go panel through a comic, I got to say. And I know with Thing, it was so much to cover. I think it'd be really fun maybe when we talk about a movie, maybe we'll just talk about one scene from a movie that we really love, so we can go as deep as we've done on this, like shot to shot. I mean, that could be a lot of fun to just go shot to shot, and same with a cartoon too. One episode or one part of an episode could be a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about this kind of craft is you can it's an endless dive into the choices that are being made and the skills that are showing up on the page.
But it's just, I think, for us, I think it's stories are food. Like last night I realized my lady was busy talking to her friend and I realized that I had just not just sat and watched the whole movie, and I just sat down and watched the whole movie, that new Ridley Scott movie and stuff. I was just like, man, I'm having such a great time. Like I forgot how much I need to watch movies, read comics. It's like that's like gasoline for me.
Yeah.
Or an electric car, I should say, really.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
This was fun.
That was amazing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put up our various informations.
This one?
There. Oh, thank you, Scott. And then I'm going to play us out with a little music.
Sing it out, brother.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. This was fun.
Yeah, join us next time when we do something even more nerdy.
And cool. And we might have a guest on. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep. Tune in.
Ooh. Sing it, Steve.